Hello. Hello, Tusharin, Nellie, Ben. Hi. I had a little late start here. I had a little trouble opening it up here. Had to restart the computer, so things were a little bit behind. So we continue with the journey of the Tripura Rahasya. And as I like to do, a brief reminder of what this is about. Swami Rama writes in the introduction, a great yogi does not belong to any caste, creed, sex, or ethnic group because he has already transcended all such superficial limitations. The knowledge that enlightens such an aspirant is called Tripura Rahasya, the secret of the one in the three cities. The text by that name is one of the most significant scriptures in the tradition of Tantra Yoga. And remember that the whole story, in the overall story of the whole text, is of the student Parashurama learning from the teacher Dattatreya. And we've been through a couple sections here where Dattatreya is telling a story about Hemachuda and Hemaleka. Hemachuda is a prince, and he finds this beautiful maiden out in the forest, and she's poor, and he's a rich prince, and they get married and sort of live happily ever after. And the storyline is between the two of them, he is teaching her how to enjoy the riches of life in the palace and all that kind of thing. And she's not terribly interested in that. And it turns out she's the enlightened one, and gradually, I love this story because she's sort of sucking him in, and she's baiting him, and she's the one that already is enlightened, and he's gradually coming around. And so the story that we're in right now, the part of that story that we're in right now is entitled The Awareness of Hemachuda. It's chapter number 4, if you're keeping count. Being embraced by the prince and hearing him, with an innocent smile, Hemaleka said, listen to me, my love. It is not true that I do not love you. Because remember, he was starting to think, you don't love me because you're resisting my embraces and all this. It is not true that I do not love you. But I am constantly preoccupied trying to decide what is the best and most joyful thing in the world and what is not. I cannot understand what is right and what is wrong. For many days I have been brooding on this, but being a woman, she's really playing him. Listen to this, ladies. But being a woman, I cannot find a satisfactory answer. I just see her going, oh, I just don't know. You're going to have to help me, honey. Please let me know the solution. The prince laughed at her remark and told her, of course, I mean, there's the guy. So, yeah, oh, poor silly wife. Okay, I'll explain it to you, honey. And told her, even animals, birds, and insects sense what is pleasant and what is not. They are naturally inclined toward what is pleasant and repelled by what is unpleasant. What is there to brood about? He's saying this to his wife. The things that give you joy are pleasant. The things that do not are unpleasant. My love, you are very innocent. Remember that look on her face? Oh, honey, I just don't understand. And she's playing him for everything she's got, but for spiritual purpose. Why are you, he says, my love, you are very innocent. Why are you so perplexed about this subject? I can well imagine as I'm looking here, Nellie's probably sitting there right now just laughing her ass off over this story, I would imagine. Right, Nellie? Hemaleka replied, you are very brilliant. There she goes again. You are, oh, my husband, you are so very brilliant. So please help me understand. Women, listen to this. Women by nature are weak in their decisions. You listening to this, Ma?
What?
You listening to this?
No, I was not.
Hemachuda says, my love, you are very innocent. Why are you so perplexed about this subject of pleasure? Hemaleka replied, are you listening, Ma?
Yeah, no, I am.
You are very brilliant, she says to the husband. So please help me understand. She's just a poor innocent.
Oh, please help.
Please, yeah, now you're getting it, Ma. Yes, I was right.
Explain it to you.
I said a moment ago, Ma, that Nellie is probably sitting there laughing her ass off over this story, and she typed in yes. Hemaleka replied, you are very brilliant, so please help me understand. Women by nature are weak in their decisions, but you can decide. Therefore, please counsel me. Once my ignorance is dispelled, I can stop worrying and enjoy life with you. Dearest, you are such a deep thinker. You have explained to me that things from which one attains pleasure and pain are pleasant and unpleasant, respectively. She's still sucking him in. I am confused, however, because the same object that is a source of pleasure one moment causes pain the next. So how can I decide what is pleasant or unpleasant? Hi, Ed. For example, in winter, a fire is pleasant, but on a hot summer day, it is intolerable.
It's 1:15.
A fireplace is always welcome in a cold climate, but in tropical countries, it is not needed. The same principle applies to one's wealth, spouse, children, kingdom, and every other pleasing object. For example, your father is graced with a wife, children, and wealth. Then why is he worried all the time, while those who do not have wealth, like you, do not worry? No object is able to give you joy forever and ever. No one's desire is ever fulfilled, and no one is happy, she's saying to him. Lord, this is not joy at all, because it brings suffering. There are two kinds of pain, external and internal. Disturbances of the humors, the internal, causes pain in the body. Conflict causes pain in the mind, for the mind is filled with desire. Hi, Roseanne.
Pain of the mind is intense.
Because of it, the whole world is in bondage. Desire for enjoyment is the cause of pain. This is still Hemaleka, the wife, speaking. The prince is sitting there quietly, getting confused inside. He's having cognitive dissonance inside, I think. She goes on, those who are slaves of desire always suffer. Even the devas, the gods in heaven, work constantly to fulfill their desires. O Prince, even after enjoying the desired object, craving does not diminish. Actually, real pleasure is impossible to attain. Nature regulates the life of the animal kingdom, but the hearts of human beings remain laden with the desires for sense gratification. If they can be fulfilled, then all will be happy in the world. But that's not true, she says. If a person suffering from fever can be relieved by cool water, then a person with desires can also be happy. It is said that the embrace of a woman is enjoyed by men, but if it is a rough embrace, it is painful. After making love, people feel exhausted. Oh Lord, tell me the secret of how to transform this pain into pleasure. Do dogs not experience the same kind of gratification that a man does with his lover? If you argue that a man experiences more pleasure than an animal because he sees the beauty in women, that is untrue, she's saying. The perception of beauty is in the beholder's eye and is no more than a dream. Listen, here is a story. Long ago, there was an extremely handsome prince. His wife was exquisitely beautiful. Now remember, this is the wife, Hemachuda, telling the story to the prince. His wife was exquisitely beautiful and could easily capture any man's heart. The prince was so devoted to her, but she was secretly involved with one of the servants. The servant would give the prince a large quantity of liquor to make him drunk. After he was senseless, the servant would send an ugly maid to sleep with him, while he himself made love to that beautiful princess. Pretty sneaky, huh? For a long time, the inebriated prince continued sleeping with the maid, believing he was enjoying the company of his beloved wife. He used to consider himself the most fortunate man in the world. Then one day the servant poured the liquor and left, but for some reason the prince did not drink as much as usual. Excited by desire, he hurried to the royal bedchamber. The bedroom was beautifully decorated. Like Indra, the king of gods, rushing to meet his wife Sachi, the prince hastened to his room and joined the maid asleep in his bed. The prince made passionate love with the woman he found there. Then, as he calmed down, to his astonishment, he discovered that he was not with his wife, but an ugly maidservant. He was infuriated and wanted to know where his wife was. The maid realized that the prince was sober and kept silent, trembling with fear. The agitated prince caught hold of her hair in his left hand and picked up his sword with his right. Angrily, he shouted, "Tell me the truth or you won't live another moment." In order to protect herself, the terrified maid revealed the truth. Then she brought him to his wife, who had been making love to the servant. The prince saw his wife lying on a mat spread out on the ground. Must have been a yoga mat, huh? In the embrace of the servant. The servant was tall, ugly, and dirty, and was exhausted from lovemaking. The princess's arms were wrapped around his body like a creeper. The servant was embracing her. They looked like a thorny vine intertwined with flowers. The prince saw his wife in deep sleep and for a moment was overcome by love and desire. He thought, I should be ashamed of myself for getting drunk. Shame on those who indulge in sexual activity and lose their senses. Men say women change their love and fly away, but in reality, men are polygamists. What can I say to myself? I was stupid. I loved her dearer than my heart. I'm ashamed of myself. As the beautiful birds do not sit on the same tree every day, so the beautiful women do not belong to one man. But who am I? I am like the calf of a buffalo, completely engrossed in attachment, and so far I have loved to live this way. As a courtesan does not love one person, so is the nature of women. One who trusts them is like a wild donkey. It is amazing. Until now, I did not understand the nature of women. I loved my wife dearly, but still she abandoned me. She was having an affair with another man, but hid it. Like an actress who expresses her underlying love to an actor in a play, She pretended to love me. Remember that right now we're hearing a story that's being told by Hemachuda to Hemachuda. And the story of Hemachuda and Hemachuda is being told to Parashurama by Dattatreya. I was under the influence of liquor and did not even know with which woman I slept. I always thought my wife was my faithful companion. Under the influence of liquor, I slept with that ugly woman. Who on earth could be more stupid than I, who was duped for such a long time? What beauty did my wife see in that treacherous servant, whose features I find so ugly that she would actually agree to make love to him? She preferred him, even though my good looks attract the eyes of all, and I was fully devoted to her. During the course of this inner monologue, the prince became disgusted with the world and, breaking off all attachments, left to live out his days in the forest. Hemachuda continued. Now we're back to Hemachuda. Hemachuda continued, O prince, thus you can see that the so-called beauty is merely skin deep. Therefore, it is in the eye of the beholder. Just as you experience pleasure by seeing my beauty, people find pleasure even in unattractive women. Sweetheart, I am going to explain. Please listen carefully. Now notice what's happening here. Hemachuda is starting to turn it around on Hemachuda. She says, please listen carefully. The mind assumes an image of the beloved according to the concept therein, and a time comes when the image and the object become one. When the mind is restless, the senses are also distorted. But when the mind is fully one-pointed, it is neither excited nor distorted, but is in a state of equilibrium. The image within it is imagination. Playing with it, the root there. The infatuation repeats the mental image, but yogis or children remain unaffected because their minds are free of the imagery. So the child's mind is free of that imagery, so nothing happens. And the yogi's mind is also free of that imagery. One finds in, I'm going to read that again. The image within it is imagination. The infatuation repeats the mental image, but yogis or children remain unaffected because their minds are free of the imagery. One finds enjoyment according to one's own concept of beauty. All husbands love their wives, no matter how ugly they are considered to be, and they have children. Superficial human beings whose minds always think of sexual activity find pleasure anywhere without discrimination. A lustful and distracted man projects beauty onto an unattractive body. If a person can see beauty in the human body, which is a gross object, then anything can be considered beautiful. O Prince, beauty is an idea which comes out of the womb of desire. Beauty lies in the beholder's mind and spontaneously flows to the object of love. But the tender minds of children do not recognize it, for they are free from lust. The color and figures of people differ in different races, countries, and times. The concept of beauty differs according to race and culture. The faces and limbs which seem distorted to one person are considered attractive to another. Take this in personally and ponder this. There's some pretty accurate stuff here, isn't it? People have many different complexions. The definition of beauty differs accordingly. O Prince, everyone though having external differences, seems to enjoy the same pleasures. Even the best of men find pleasure in a woman's company because she is considered to be delightful. Equally, a man's beauty attracts a woman and is enjoyable to her. O Prince, learn to understand this. When one analyzes the components of the body, it has all sorts of decaying elements, and it is hopelessly disgusting. A seeker should know this. Those who find delight in pleasures of the body are like animals. O Prince, this body is full of unpleasant elements. The one who thinks of every part of the body, gets disgusted. The same is true of food, even though it has different flavors. Even the most delicious food becomes waste material. After reflecting realistically on the nature of the human body, please tell me what is pleasurable and what is not. This is Hemoleka asking the prince, Hemachuda, her husband. Hemachuda was surprised at his wife's views. The truth of her remarks changed his attitude toward the world. Pondering her words, he lost interest in objects of enjoyment and developed non-attachment. In the course of time, he asked many questions and came to understand the highest truth. Gradually, he realized that one's own Atman, blissful Tripura, resides in everyone's heart. With this realization, he gained freedom and was able to see the entire universe in his own self. Through his knowledge, both his father and younger brother also attained liberation. The queen, Hemachuda's mother, attained knowledge from her daughter-in-law, and then gradually the knowledge spread to the ministers and finally to the common citizens. No one in that city remained ignorant. They all attained freedom from worldly craving. That city seemed a veritable city of Brahma, Brahmapuri, the city of Brahma. The capital became the best in the world. Even the parrots and the sarika birds, I don't know what those are, while sitting in their cages, spoke in the following manner. Now, this is the birds speaking. Pure consciousness, devoid of objects, is one's own real self, the Atman. Contemplate on that. External objects are not different from consciousness. Consciousness alone is the object of its own awareness. I am that consciousness. It alone is the entire universe. All this is experienced through consciousness by the illumination of the self. O people of the world, cast off your confusion by focusing your minds only on consciousness. Worship and meditate on her. That this capital H, her, of course, is using the center of consciousness, Tripura, as a symbolic term, as divine mother. It's not that there's literally a woman in the sky. Consciousness is the illuminator as well as the source and support of all. Hearing such sermons come from the parrots, the great sages renamed the city. They announced, because here even birds discuss the supreme knowledge, henceforth this town will be called Vidyanagara. Vidyanagara, the city of knowledge, the city of wisdom. Vidyanagara. Often in India they say Nagar, so it would be Vidyanagar, not Vidyanagara. I don't know why it's different. The city is still known by that name even today. Thus, Parashurama, see, now we're back to Dattatreya talking to Parashurama. Remember, Dattatreya is teaching Parashurama through the story of Hemachuda and Hemaleka, and what we've just been through here was Hemaleka telling a story to Hemachuda about the prince and his wife and the maid. So it gets a little confusing, but there's a sense to it. The city is still known by that name even today. Thus, Parashurama, the company of the wise is the most effective way of attaining the highest good. So look what happened in the city, even down to the birds. It all came from the fact that one person, Hemaleka, one person understood it, and she taught. And there's a Roseanne says, free. There we go. I'll put that up there. There's a free from Roseanne. Thus, Parashurama, the company of the wise is the most effective way of attaining the highest good. So all the people in the city learn from this, and they learn from one another. So this is the principle of satsang. So that's what we're doing right now. We're attempting to come together, share this story, and listen to the wisdom of this. To me, this is me speaking, get a little laugh over it because it is kind of humorous. I just love the way that the prince thought he was so smart and was going to be the teacher of his wife. And she was the one who was enlightened. And finally, she says, how do you enjoy all these pleasures? And she starts asking questions. And finally, she springs the trap on him. And he realizes, wow, I don't know very much at all. It's my wife that's got the understanding here. Maybe I should listen to her. And everybody gets enlightened. So the idea of satsang, coming together to do this kind of stuff, is a tremendous key, is the main source of liberation. So you see, Parashurama, the company of the wise is the main source of liberation. Thus ends chapter 4 with the dialogue between Hemaleka and Hemachuda, which leaves us at the cliffhanger for next time, which is the helplessness of Hemachuda and the wondrous sermon given by Hemaleka. So there's more to come. She, as rich as that was, and now even the birds are enlightened and singing this wisdom. She's not done with him yet. He has not completed the journey. There's more to come. And so we will do that in a couple days. We'll continue with that next part. Isn't this fun? Isn't this a fun journey here? Dattatreya teaching Parashurama. Don't you feel a little bit like Parashurama learning? And here he is telling us the story of Hemaleka and her wisdom. And then she's telling her prince, Hemachuda, this other story. And we can just allow ourselves to take a journey and get drawn into it, huh? I agree with you, Ben. I just love this text. It's fabulous, isn't it? Because it's a path towards, thank you, Nellie. Look at all those little charming little things. And so let us be free, Roseanne, okay? So to be continued. Thank you for visiting. Thank you for playing. See you later. What's today? Today's Friday, so we'll be together 3 times tomorrow. We'll maybe see you one of those times. And all to be continued. Remember what you're looking for, the Tripura that we're looking for is to be found in the silence after the Om. Tat Sat. Tripura. Bye-bye. Tripura, Tripura, the one in the 3 cities. It won't end. The one in the 3 cities. Now it's going to go. I keep pushing buttons and nothing's happening. Here we go. I'm going to push the button.